recording this because Periscope doesn't like me, and I'm gonna do a Periscope, but woohoo. Open broadcast, and now I'm recording on 2 different fronts. Oh no, I want the front camera. There we go, yay! Please don't fall. Are you gonna be sideways the entire time? Woohoo! Hey, look, I'm new. Oh, hey, look, there I am. This is gonna give me a headache, isn't it? Okay. I'm putting this in like different places in case you're wondering what I'm doing. I'm putting this on Facebook and on Tumblr. I'm also recording this over here. Oh god, please don't tell me it's open. It's open. That's really confusing. So I'm just sharing this. We're gonna be talking today about oh my god, I look horrible. We're gonna be talking about the Mortal Instruments per a request. We're gonna be talking about some adaptation stuff, including certain things about the Mortal Instruments adaptation. Wow, there's a lot of you. Hi, I wasn't expecting that. It was like a last minute thing. Hi guys. And people are gonna be idiots. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Oh wait, no, I still haven't shared it on Tumblr. I'm out of my mind today, y'all. Oh no. Haha. So we're talking about Shadowhunters stuff. If you're not here for Shadowhunters, bye. We're talking about Shadowhunters and adaptation stuff. And god, why is my picture so big? Go away. Alright, so it's posted. Yay! So today we're talking about Shadowhunters. A friend on Twitter was asking me my opinion on some of the adaptation decisions, on why they decided to change some things for Shadowhunters in regard to the book. And I gave an answer, and I've given a couple of different answers on my opinions on some of the changes they've made. And a question I've been given a lot is, but what about Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones is a lot closer to the book. They barely change anything, and it's still one of the best TV shows on the network. Or on air, anyway. So, well, there's a lot of reasons that Shadowhunters and Game of Thrones are very different. First of all, they're 2 completely different categories of film and TV in general. You've got, Shadowhunters is going to be on ABC Family, which is a broadcast TV channel, and there's a limit on what they can show. And then Game of Thrones is on HBO, which is a premium channel, and you have to pay for it. The way the networks themselves are set up is really different, and I'm trying to think. Okay, so an HBO network doesn't really have commercial breaks. They don't really get their network money from, they get their network money from people who pay for subscriptions, not from commercials like broadcast television does. So where Shadowhunters has to keep people tuning in every week and getting ratings to keep on the air, Game of Thrones they have to do that as well, but they've been on the air for a little while, and so they don't really have to worry about it. They already have good ratings, and they can also do a lot of different stuff to get those ratings. Game of Thrones is about a lot of different things, not all of which are in the book series. And they can bring in sex scenes. They can bring in a lot of really gory stuff that you can't see on broadcast television. And I guess it is a little bit more possible to stay closer to the books. But there's also, besides what medium the adaptations are coming out in, you got to think of the difference between the original source materials. The Moral Instruments, I'm not saying that the Moral Instruments isn't great, but it's not the same as the Game of Thrones books. The Game of Thrones books had a lot of material to work with, and I think they were originally written with a more cinematic type of feeling to them. They were more easily adapted. Now, I don't think Shadowhunters is doing a bad thing with their adaptation. They're keeping a lot the same. So I know a lot of people are worried about it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. That's not the button I meant to hit. That's also not the button I meant to hit. So Shadowhunters, I know you guys probably have seen this all around, that Shadowhunters is bringing in elements from later books, like Lady Camille Belcourt. I'll just pick her. She doesn't come into the book series until book 4, the beginning of book 4. She's not in the original trilogy, and yet she's in episode 3 of Shadowhunters. But at the same time, it doesn't change as much as you would think. It really doesn't. The best thing I can say with the Shadowhunters adaptations is what, you'll hear the cast saying this, and pretty much everyone involved in saying this, that Shadowhunters is telling the same story as the Mortal Instruments, but they're taking a different journey to get there. You start with point A, and then you get to point B, just this, same point A and point B from the books pretty much, but the way you get there is a completely different story. Like, we'll start with Clary's mother going missing, and Clary trying to find her, and her finding out who the Shadowhunters are, and that she's a Shadowhunter. Pretty much all of the characters and their character traits are the same. You just have different stories, different arcs that are used to show those character traits, because what you read in a book can't always be filmed, so you have to find other different, more creative ways to show it. Like Luke being a cop doesn't really change him. He's a loyal person. Now, I haven't read the Game of Thrones books, so that's just a disclaimer. And I barely watched the show. I don't like the show that much, actually. Unpopular opinion, but I don't like the Game of Thrones show. It was always really, really boring for me. I got past, 5 episodes and stopped watching. I think it's because, you can pick up the last book and know where everything's going. If a book series, or if a show is exactly like the book series, you can pick up the last book, know where it's going, and be like, okay, that's an hour of my time I've wasted. That's an hour of time I haven't wasted, and it's, what was the other thing? Or it's also like $50 I didn't have to spend watching it. Complicated. There's so many differences between Game of Thrones and Shadowhunters. The stories they're telling are different. They're just two completely different things, and comparing them is like comparing an apple to, I don't know, a tree. It's different. They're two completely different things. The changes Shadowhunters are making from the book series aren't actually... I'm searching for the words to say what I have, because I know I've had this conversation on Tumblr a lot, and a lot of people always bring up Game of Thrones, and the difference is, Shadowhunters just isn't Game of Thrones. It's not the same genre. It's not the same medium with television writing. It's completely different. And I think, the Mortal Instruments, from what I've read, the adaptation of the, let's take the pilot episode. Okay, so for the Shadowhunters pilot episode, you have to, for any pilot episode, you've got to establish the main characters, you've got to establish the main plot, and every episode in the first season, or in every episode in general, has to have its own story. So, I know the question is often, Game of Thrones was, the first season was the first book, why isn't Shadowhunters doing that? Because Shadowhunters just doesn't have that much information for a first season. There's 13 episodes, I want to say 23 chapters, including the epilogue for City of Bones. I mean, you'd be getting one book an episode, or one chapter an episode with a little bit left over. I did the math at one point of how many chapters it would need for an episode, and it would be, if you look at it, the first episode would be up until they got to Java Jones in the first book. It would start at Pandemonium, which isn't a great thing to do with television writing. In any screenplay writing, you always want to start off with the normal world and then show how it changes. And the City of Bones book just starts with Pandemonium. The show makes that like halfway through the first episode, I think is where Pandemonium is. You get the first couple of acts explaining, you know, Clary's relationship with her mom, her relationship with Simon, what her normal world looks like, and what the Institute normal world looks like, and how they change each other when Pandemonium happens. So, I mean, the first season wouldn't, the first book wouldn't sustain a first season. You've got to, I think by this, I know I've mentioned this, the second episode is when Simon gets kidnapped. And that doesn't happen until, I want to say, chapter 12 or 13 of the first book. But at the same time, you still get all of the information you need to before that in the television show. You still get all the stuff with Pandemonium, Clary waking up in the Institute, Simon meeting the Institute's inhabitants, which happens at the end of the first episode, beginning of the second episode. You still get them going to the City of Bones. That's chapter 10 in City of Bones. And it's toward the beginning, or toward the middle of episode 2. So, I mean, you're already halfway through the book through episode 2, and you're still getting all of the information you need. Do you understand what I mean? There's just not enough material. Even if you were to keep everything, there's just not enough material to sustain a full season. Now, I know a lot of the difference between, I think, the Mortal Instruments and Game of Thrones is that, I'd imagine, if I'm not mistaken, George R.R. Martin's writing is a lot more visual. He does a lot more showing and less telling. I know Cassandra Clare, she often, and this isn't against her as a writer, I love her writing for the most part, but she likes to do internal monologues with her characters and showing her characters' internal thoughts and feelings. And the rule when you're writing screenplays is, if you can't film it, don't write it in the screenplay. If it cannot be specifically caught on camera, if it's not a direct action an actor can portray, don't put it on the screenplay. So, you know, you can't really hear a character's inner thoughts and feelings in a show without having really convoluted narration or something like that. And it's way overused, and shows that use narration are, well, it depends, because I know a lot of shows use narration, but it can be a sign of really bad screenwriting, a really weak screenwriting. But with Shadowhunters, you know, you've got a lot of new storylines that are taking up some space, with Luke being a cop. I know one of the huge things that people are so pissed about is the arranged marriage plotline, and that's all about, it's characterizing Alec, for one, because you know, if you look back at the first book, you don't get a lot of Alec's characterization that you see in the later books. So it's kind of important, especially if he's going to be a main character for the entire series, to characterize him as much as possible, as early on as possible, so the audience can decide whether or not they want to, you know, be on his side or hate him. So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've answered this question like 6 times, but I keep getting messages about it. I keep explaining it away. But, you know, and I always get Game of Thrones. I don't know. It's always Game of Thrones that people mention, which actually might be a clue that if Game of Thrones is like the only story you can think of where it's done like that, that might be a clue, because it doesn't work with a lot of TV shows. based on television or based on book series. It doesn't work to keep a book per season. Especially if you look at City of Bones, it's a really small book. And it gets a lot of information, but when spread across 13 episodes, it would just seem anemic. And also, you wouldn't get each individual episode's storyline. I mean, the first episode is about Clary finding out she's a Shadowhunter. That's basically the story of the first episode. Her mom goes missing and she finds out she's a Shadowhunter. The second episode is about learning the lore of the Shadowhunters and going to the City of Bones and trying to get her memories back. It's about a lot of different things. The third episode is about the Hotel du Mort, and we learn things about the Mortal Cup. We learn things about Camille Belcourt. We learn things about all these different characters. So, I mean, each episode has to have its own individual storyline that affects the entire story arc of either a character or the story as a whole. If a scene or a line or a character doesn't move the story forward, it gets cut from a screenplay, or it should in any good screenplay. And that's film or television. So, I mean, there's a lot of extraneous information in City of Bones when you put it on a TV screen that doesn't move the story forward. And, I mean, they've tried. The thing is, they've tried, if it doesn't move the story forward, they've moved it to a different place to try and keep it, or they've tried to reimagine it in a different way to keep it. So, I mean, these screenwriters, from what I can tell, are trying as much as they can to keep things from the book and keep things as much as possible, but it's not practical in any way, shape, or form to write the first season as the first book. The first book is the first season. I know by the end of the first season, we're going to be meeting Imogen Herondale, who you meet a couple chapters into City of Ashes. We're meeting Meliorn in the first book, or in the first season, because he's introduced in City of Ashes, I believe. But him and Isabel are having a relationship. You get introduced to some of the Infernal Devices characters by name mention. You get introduced to some Bane Chronicles stories. So, I mean, I think I should try and write a pilot episode just based on limiting myself to a certain number of chapters in City of Bones. Just write out an episode and just try and show you how practical it isn't. The sneak peek, that's a good question. Thank you for that. I like the sneak peek. I do. It's from the pilot. As far as acting, I'm in an acting for camera class right now, so I feel the pain. The thing with acting in a pilot is that the cast barely knew each other, and it's gonna be a little bit off because, the screenwriters, they have their own ideas for the voices of the characters, but your first draft, or your first episode of a television script, and, your first draft, all of your pre-shooting drafts of pretty much any script you ever write are going to sound kind of off and kind of choppy until you get an actor actually saying them, because you don't know how an actor's voice is going to work with that line. You don't realize how weird the lines sound until you've already heard them said. So I think I loved what they did with Pandemonium. I loved that you got introduced to all of the main characters. And this is in Act 3 of the pilot. Pandemonium is in Act 3 after the second commercial break in the pilot. So I love that in that scene, you managed to get the characterizations of Alec, Isabel, Jace, Simon, Clary, Maureen, who, if you guys don't know, Maureen is the girl that's hanging out with Simon and Clary. She's Simon's bandmate. In earlier drafts, she was Simon's girlfriend. And then you also meet Pangborn and Blackwell, who are the two creepy dudes with sunglasses that look like the Men in Black hanging out in the club. You meet Magnus, who owns the Pandemonium Club, which I thought was a great change because we get to meet him in the pilot episode. I mean, you get so much, and that's one of the things is that Pandemonium, Pandemonium is a pretty lengthy scene in the film, or not the film, the books. If you look, Pandemonium is just pages after pages, and then they shortened Pandemonium into a matter of how much was it, 6 minutes? So that's a good example of why a season can't be a book can't be a full season, because that was an entire chapter of the book squeezed into 6 minutes. And the thing is, it wasn't just like squeezed into 6 minutes, it was effectively squeezed into those 6 minutes. You still got all the information you needed from those 6 minutes that you got in the several pages of the first chapter of the book. So it's about efficiency. It's about I know you had a question about, or you asked about the special effects. I liked them. I know a lot of people are angry at the special effects, but you know, TV show special effects are never as good as film special effects. I know sometimes they can be really, really good, but at the same time, they're not ever going to be on par with what would have happened if it was a movie, because film or television doesn't have the time. I mean, you're making this in filming for an episode takes place over, I think it's a 10-day shoot, 10 to 11-day shoot for a television episode, or for an hour-long drama television episode. So you've got 10 days of principal photography, and the rest of there's 2 weeks to make a full episode. You got 10 days principal photography. The rest of that time is what's left for editing, any voice dubbing, ADR that's necessary, any digital effects editing, which comes like almost last. So, I mean, you're never gonna get like movie style effects, but I think given what they had, the sneak peek from the pilot, I think the special effects were pretty damn good. I love Magnus's eyes. Those were really cool. I like the comic book like effect of the ichor when they're killing the demons in the end of the Pandemonium scene. I thought that was really cool, because you know the Shadowhunters are nothing short of superheroes, so I think it gives the show kind of a unique look to it, and I really, really like the decision, whoever's decision that was. I love that decision in the editing. Like I said, the acting, I like the acting. I think the clip sold me on all of the main character cast. Yay, I didn't die. It sold me on all the main character cast. Like, after I saw them get cast, I was weary for like half of them. But seeing them actually in the show, I thought it was fantastic. I liked seeing how well the Lightwoods worked together, and I think the actors pulled off the relationships really well. I know a lot of people are complaining about the lines, the dialogue being choppy and cheesy. Pilot episodes generally tend to do that. Anytime somebody tells me like anything bad about the episode, I'm like, just okay. Go back to like some of the best shows in existence. Some of the best shows, go back to, especially shows like on the same network or in the same genre. Like, go back and watch, say, the Vampire Diaries pilot, or the go away. The Vampire Diaries pilot, the Pretty Little Liars, the Pretty Little Liars pilot. Go back and watch the pilot episodes of some of your favorite shows, especially in the same genre as Shadowhunters. They're going to be pretty, the dialogue isn't going to really fit with who you know the characters as later in the show, because the screenwriters didn't really know the cast at that point. They didn't really know what direction the directors wanted to go with the show. But I've read the pilot. I've read 90% of the pilot. The only scene I actually hadn't read was Pandemonium. So I've read early drafts of the pilot, and I know some of the dialogue does that. That's always a thing screenwriters, like any screenwriter has an issue with this natural dialogue. For the first episode of season, you've got a new writer's room. Or for the first episode of a series, you've got new writers in a writer's room who've never worked together before, have to get used to each other's writing. You've got the new show. They're working with a new showrunner. You're working with a director. You're working on adapting a story. So you want to try and bring in the characters from the books as much as possible, while also merging that with the actors and their abilities, the actors who are playing them. So I think the pilot dialogue is probably going to be the worst we see in the entire series. Same with the acting. And if that's the low bar for the acting and screenwriting for the rest of the series, that makes me really excited. Yeah. I got off on a tangent, sorry. I am recording this on my computer. The question was about the sneak peek of Shadowhunters and the acting and the special effects. So if you have any other questions, send them in. I think I'm about done. How did I talk for 30 minutes? I didn't talk. I rambled most of the time. If you have any other questions, send them in. Do I think the show will be more successful with people who haven't read the book? That's another great question. I think the show is going to be probably more successful for people who haven't read the book than it is for people who have read the book. Because, I mean, I love this fandom so much, and there are so many people excited for this book series, or for this TV series, but I think there are so many who are still stuck on the movie could have been better, or I loved the movie more than this, and they're finding any reason to say this isn't a good adaptation before the show even premieres. So I think that there's just so much negativity in the fandom that people aren't allowing themselves to experience and like the new show. But also I think people from new people watching the show who haven't read the book series will go and read the book series. I don't think it's going to be a story of, I think it's Pretty Little Liars or Vampire Diaries is really mad about that, where like nobody who watches the show has read the books. But I think Shadowhunters might be the show where we've got a really strong fan base to begin with. We've got 6 great book series, so especially like after the first season finale, I'm imagining a bunch of people getting really excited and upset trying to figure out what's going to happen, so they go read the entire book series and still don't know what's going to happen. But I imagine hiatus times when we do the like breaks, mid-seasons, and season finales are going to be times when a lot of people who watch the show read the books. But I think the way ABC Family is networking it's bound to be, I hate using this phrase because I don't want it to go the same way it did, but the next Pretty Little Liars. I think it's going to be that for the show. Pretty Little Liars has a season and a half left, I think. We're in season 6, right? Season 6. So we have the rest of the season and then another season of Pretty Little Liars left. Unless it gets canceled, I hope. But I think Shadowhunters has the ability to have a lot of people who've read the books and then have an overwhelming amount of people who come in and say, this is the next big show that teens need to watch. So yeah, I think it's going to be great for book fans. I think book fans are going to love it, but I think it's definitely going to be most popular, like most book-to-TV adaptations. I think it'll be most popular for the non-book fans. I did see that Teen Wolf and the Mortal Instruments are going to be in the same time slot. And my thought on that is Teen Wolf has slowly been losing a lot of its fan base over the past couple of years, especially since they killed off one of the main characters. I think they got a couple of new writers on the show, if I'm not mistaken. I might be thinking of another book series, or another TV show. No, I am thinking of another TV show, never mind. But, I don't think Teen Wolf is going to be that much of a threat. I think Shadowhunters has that new feeling to it. It's something fresh. Teen Wolf has been on for a long time, and I think the good thing is that their viewers are looking for something else to give them a story similar to what they're wanting, but something better written than Teen Wolf. And that's not something against Teen Wolf. I love loved Teen Wolf. I haven't really watched it in the past couple of seasons for the same reason most people have stopped watching it. It's just gotten a little repetitive, and I don't think that it's doing really well. But I think that it'll actually give us the opportunity to bring in some of their fans. Yeah, we have werewolves. We also have vampires. We also have a sexiest cast on TV for teen shows. I mean, it's not just that we have a hot cast. It's that we've got so many hot people on the show. Every new person they cast, I'm just like, you're gonna set my TV screen on fire when I finally watch this episode. So, I hope that answered your question. Teen Wolf, I know it's in the same time, but the reason they've attached Shadowhunters to Pretty Little Liars is because Pretty Little Liars, it's the same thing they did with Stitchers, the show Stitchers this season. Pretty Little Liars is the Big Brother show they do often, where they'll take the most popular, like, flagship show of the network and then put something on after it. Because if there's one thing I know about Pretty Little Liars fans, is that they'll keep their TV on after the episode, because they're still trying to figure out, like, they're still reeling from the cliffhanger at end of the episode. And then, oh, what's this new show? And then after they're done tweeting for the first 10 minutes, they'll look up and go, what is going on? Who is this hot guy? You know? So that's generally why Stitchers did so well last season. That's why I started watching Stitchers last season. I love that show so much. But I think that's why they're doing that for Shadowhunters. And I think Shadowhunters is going to get a lot of new viewers that way. In regard to... Go away. Why do you keep messaging me? Sorry. So with Teen Wolf, I think Teen Wolf is kind of on its last leg. No pun intended. I think it's not going to last that much longer, and I think their fans are looking for something new, and I think that could help bring some more viewers to Shadowhunters. Honestly, when I heard Immortal Lynch TMI was getting picked up as a TV series, I thought MTV was going to pick it up. But, I mean, I understand why they didn't. Every network needs to have their Supernatural show. CW has Supernatural and Vampire Diaries and the original, so I knew it wasn't going to get picked up there. And then MTV had Teen Wolf, but honestly, I expected Teen Wolf to get canceled before that. But from what I've been watching, the Nielsen ratings, Teen Wolf's ratings are going way down this season and the past couple of, the last half of last season. It's just been going down steadily for a while, so if Teen Wolf is competition I'm trying to say semester, and that's not the word I'm looking for, but if Teen Wolf is going to be our competition for a little while, I don't think it's going to be a competition for long. Like I said, I'm sad. I like Teen Wolf. That's not anything against people who like Teen Wolf. I love the show, but I think it's on its last leg. I think it's not going to last that much longer. And I think Shadowhunters is the better show of the two. It's something new. It's got such a beautiful cast. Not that the cast Teen Wolf isn't beautiful. It's amazing. It's got diversity beyond belief. It's got diversity in skin color and nationalities and, you know, stories, character, sexualities, character arcs. I think that's, you know... There was, at one point, an LGBTQ character, I can't remember, there was a gay character on Teen Wolf for a while, and then I think he died. I'm pretty sure he died. And then his boyfriend moved away for some reason. So, I mean, I think that a lot of people who watch Teen Wolf are going to be looking for something new, and I think that they're going to come to Shadowhunters. I don't think Shadowhunters is going to lose many viewers to them. Alright, this lasted like 10 minutes longer than I planned for it, so if you have any last questions, send them in. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off on both this and my computer. And then I'm going to try and keep my phone from dying. So, any last questions before I log off? 10, 9, 8, 7. No, I'm good. Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. I hope I answered your questions. If not, message me on Tumblr or Twitter. I just shared on my Tumblr a list of all of my the best Mortal Instruments quotes pages all over the internet. I have Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. So I have a list. If you want to message me on Tumblr, Facebook, or Twitter, do it. There's also an email, besttmiquotes@gmail.com, if you want to send in questions there. Like I said, the next couple of Saturdays won't really be Shadowhunters spoiler Saturdays. They'll just be Shadowhunters Saturdays. I don't really have any new spoilers because there's no new audition sides. There's no new episodes being filmed. Sadness. But I will be sharing news. I'll be sharing everything I find out. All the spoilers I can find out. By the way, you guys need to look up the new Shadowhunters cover for the City of Bones book. They just did a TV, or they're about to do a TV tie-in of the book to come out right around Christmas time. So look into that. That was something we found out this week. I know a lot of new interviews from the cast have been released. TMI Source did some. Basically, everyone that was in New York Comic Con did some interviews with them. So if you're interested, definitely look those up, find them. But yeah, I'm really excited for the show. I think it's gonna be just absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to watch it with you. And I hope you guys live tweet with us. My sister has a great page. We run a page for Stitchers and for Little Liars Chat, and now we're gonna have Shadowhunters Chat. We have Shadowhunters Chat on Twitter. Just search for Shadowhunters Chat. It's spelled weird, but you should be able to find it. It's also there's a link on my Twitter. So we're going to be live tweeting when the show comes out. Every new episode we're live tweeting, and with the cast and with all of you. So make sure you're live tweeting. Make sure you send in any questions you have for me, any topics for discussion you want to have, and all of that. Sorry, I'm rambling today. I have way too much work to do, which is why I did this. Anyway, that's it. See you guys next week. Bye!